Hey, what's up YouTube? This is Dan the Fix-It Man. Got another quick video here for you. I'm going to show you how to change your front brakes on a 2002 Toyota Camry. Now the first thing I like to do before taking the caliper bolts off up here at the top is I like to push the caliper piston back inside the caliper so that when you put on the new brake pads you've got some room. Now I do have this tool. This is a little caliper compression tool that I use sometimes, but I've found that it's quicker to just put in a screwdriver into this little slot or window in here, and if you just wedge it in there just right, you can actually just slowly pry that towards you. That screwdriver is basically wedging in there, and it's pushing the caliper piston back inside the caliper. And it's just a little bit of that leverage, and you can see that now I've got a lot of room in there for the new brake pads. If I was just replacing the pads, then you would only need to remove this bottom bolt, and that would allow you to pivot the caliper up, change the pads, and put it back down. But since we're going to change the rotors, I'm going to take off both caliper bolts so then I can get to this caliper mounting plate and remove that as well. Alright, the head is a 14 millimeter. And sometimes when you loosen that, it won't want to loosen. It'll spin this little slide that it goes into, and sometimes you need to put a wrench on top of that. This one's not moving, but just to show you, this is a 17 millimeter, and sometimes you need to get a really thin wall or a thin profile wrench. But this one didn't even spin, so we'll undo that, and we can set those that caliper bolt aside. Do the same thing on the bottom one. And we can set that down. Okay, so now you can take the caliper off, and some people like to zip tie that up, but if you can find a place to balance that and keep it up out of the way, that's fine as well. And we're going to pull these old brake pads out. In order to get this rotor off, we need to take off this mounting plate or bracket, or where the caliper bolts to. And there are two bolts that hold it into place, and those are easy to get to once you have that caliper off. And those are a 17 millimeter. And they look like that. And we'll just set that aside while we take off the other one. And we can set that piece down, and there's the bolt as well. Now to get the rotor off next, or the brake disc as some people call it, sometimes they just come right off, but sometimes just over the years they kind of bond themselves to the hub. You'll notice there are these two holes in the rotor itself, and if you look inside there, they don't go very deep, because it on the other side of that is the actual face of the hub. And the reason they're there is so that you can get a couple bolts that match the threads and put them in. And just like that, we can turn these in, and these happen to be a 10 millimeter head on them, but any kind of bolt, as long as the size and the threads match, will work. And then you just give them a few turns on each one, and you'll see slowly but surely it's prying the rotor off. There it is. This one came right off. Okay, then we want to put the new rotor on, and that goes on fairly simple. We can now put the caliper mounting piece here, and that's fairly simple. Just want to line up those same bolt holes. can tighten those down. You're going to want to see your manual for the actual torque spec on those to do it the right way. But just make them tight. Okay, now we can put on the new brake pads. I like to always put some of this Sil-Glyde on the back of the pad and at the ends, the actual contact points where it makes contact to the metal there, not where it contacts the rotor. You don't want anything on the actual brake pad itself. It really seems to work, keeping down some of the noise, some of the vibration, and allows the pad to move the way it needs to. Just do kind of a thin layer there on the back. Just kind of use your finger to smooth that out, and then just make sure you get some in those ends as well. And the new pad will just fit right in there. Do the same thing on the other inboard pad. Just a little dab there, and you just want to just smooth that out just enough and cover the backing plate there, or the backing shim that's on the back of that pad, and then make sure you get the ends, and we'll put that one in. There it is. Okay. Now we can put the caliper back over the new pads, and we can put in those bolts at the top and the bottom. Just line those up. And remember, when tightening that, just see your manual for the proper spec, but you also want to make sure if this starts to spin, that go ahead and put a wrench on there. This one's not spinning. Okay, just remember, anytime you change the rotors, it's a good idea to spray and wipe that down with some brake clean, just to get some of that oil and fingerprints off of there, so it's not fouling up your new pads. And that's it. You're good to go. Good to put the tire back on, tighten it down, and get on down the road. Thanks so much for watching, and good luck.